Every town has its stories, the kind that echo through generations, repeated around campfires, whispered among the curious, and dismissed by the skeptical. But here, in the heart of Crestwood, there's one story that no one dares to tell too loudly. A house that stands on the outskirts, shrouded in shadow even in broad daylight. A house where the line between reality and nightmare blurs. They call it Ashwood Manor. Built over a century ago, its imposing structure has watched time pass like an unyielding sentinel. To the outside world, it's just an abandoned relic, another forgotten piece of history. But ask anyone who's lived in this town, and you'll hear a different tale. A tale of the unexplained, of those who entered and never came out the same. Some say it's the silence that's the most unsettling. Not the kind of quiet that brings peace, but an unnatural stillness, as if the air itself is holding its breath. Others speak of the sounds, the creak of footsteps where no one is walking, the faint sound of a child's laughter when the house should be empty. Then there are the lights, flickering in the windows long after dusk, when there's no electricity inside. But the most chilling part, the house seems to know you're there. It watches, it listens, and for those who dare to step through its doors, the house leaves something behind. A mark, a memory, a fear that lingers long after you've left. To understand Ashwood Manor, you must go back to the beginning. The year was 1887. Crestwood was a booming town, full of promise and ambition. And Elias Ashwood, a wealthy industrialist with a taste for the eccentric, decided to build a house that would outshine them all. They said he spared no expense, imported wood from far-off lands, stained glass windows crafted by master artisans, and a sprawling design that felt more like a labyrinth than a home. But even as construction began, there were whispers among the workers. Accidents, strange occurrences, tools disappearing only to reappear in places no one remembered leaving them. And then there was the land itself. The locals avoided it long before Ashwood claimed it as his own. They spoke of strange lights in the woods nearby, of animals that refused to venture too close. Still, Elias Ashwood dismissed the warnings. He was a man of logic, of reason. But what he built was something far beyond his control. When the house was finally completed, it was unlike anything the town had ever seen. Grand, imposing, and strangely wrong. Neighbours reported hearing screams late at night, though the Ashwood family denied anything was amiss. It wasn't long before tragedy struck. First, Elias's wife fell ill under mysterious circumstances. Then, his youngest daughter vanished without a trace. Elias himself became reclusive, rarely seen outside the house. When he was found dead in the Grand Hall a few months later, the town breathed a collective sigh of relief. They thought it was over. But it wasn't, because Ashwood Manor doesn't forget, and it doesn't forgive. What exactly happened inside those walls? And why does the house still stand, untouched, unclaimed, and unyielding? The answers may be more terrifying than the questions themselves. To uncover the truth, we ventured into Ashwood Manor ourselves, equipped with cameras, recorders, and a team of experts. What we found may be the closest thing to proof that some houses are alive. We entered Ashwood Manor on a cold, moonless night, the kind of night when shadows stretch endlessly. As the heavy door creaked shut behind us, it felt as though the house had swallowed us whole. We weren't just inside a building, we were inside something alive. The further we went, the more the house revealed. At first, it was subtle, a misplaced shadow, a flicker of movement in the corner of our eyes. Then came the sounds, the laughter of a child, the faint strains of a music box, and finally, the cold, a suffocating bone-deep chill that wrapped around us like a vice. It wasn't until we reached the library that we began to understand. Dust-covered books lined the shelves, but one stood out, a leather-bound journal left open on a desk. The pages detailed the final days of Elias Ashwood and his descent into madness. Journal entry, Elias's words, "It demands more." Every day the house hungers. It takes what it wants. Our warmth, our peace, our souls. My wife, my daughter. It has them now. I tried to stop it, but it's too late. Too late for all of us. Elias hadn't just built a home. He had constructed a gateway. The land wasn't cursed. Ashwood Manor was. The house wasn't just alive. It was feeding, and it wouldn't stop. What lay beneath the house was beyond anything we could have imagined. A vast cavernous space filled with unnatural light and the echoes of countless voices. And at its centre, it waited, a shifting, shadowy presence that seemed to devour the very light around it. It wasn't just the house that was alive, it was the thing beneath it. The house was its shell, its prison, and we had just set it free. We barely escaped with our lives. The house let us go, but not without leaving its mark. The air outside felt lighter, but the weight of what we had seen lingered. For days after, the memories clung to us, the music box, the laughter, the shadows that seemed to follow us even in daylight. Ashwood Manor remains. Its doors are still open, waiting for the next unwitting soul to step inside. Perhaps it waits for someone brave enough, or foolish enough, to end what Elias Ashwood could not. Or perhaps it waits simply to feed again. What if the walls around you could talk? What would they say? And more importantly, would you dare to listen? Tonight, we take you to a place where the echoes of the past refuse to fade. A house so shrouded in terror that those who enter rarely leave the same. For decades, this house has stood at the edge of town, silent and alone. Its windows seem to watch, its doors seem to wait. Stories have been told, of whispers in the dark, shadows that move when no one is there, and an overwhelming sense of being unwelcome. Tonight, we uncover its history and attempt to piece together the events that turned this house into a monument of fear. Stay with us to the end, and you'll see evidence that defies explanation, proof that this place is far more than just an old, crumbling structure. It all began in 1894. The house was built by a wealthy merchant named Arthur Belmore, a man known for his ambition and his secrets. He spared no expense, constructing a sprawling mansion complete with hidden rooms, elaborate corridors, and reinforced doors. But within a year, tragedy struck. Arthur's wife Lillian was found dead in the main hall, her lifeless body lying beneath the grand chandelier. The cause of death was declared as heart failure, but whispers among the townsfolk told a different story. They spoke of screams heard the night before, of Arthur pacing the halls muttering to himself. After Lillian's death, Arthur withdrew from society. Neighbours reported seeing him in the windows, staring out as though watching something or someone. And then, one night in 1901, he disappeared. In the years that followed, the house passed through several owners, each with their own story of unexplained events. Doors slamming shut without warning, footsteps echoing through empty hallways, and most chillingly, voices calling out from the darkness. In 1978, a group of paranormal investigators entered the house. They captured what they described as unmistakable evidence: shadowy figures, cold spots, and an EVP recording of a voice saying, "Get out." But the most terrifying account came from a family who lived here in the 1990s. They described nights of relentless terror, objects moving on their own, children waking up screaming, and finally, an incident that forced them to flee in the middle of the night. To uncover the truth, we ventured into the house ourselves. Armed with cameras, recorders, and every ounce of courage we could muster, we walked through its decaying halls, hoping for answers, but bracing for the unknown. The atmosphere was oppressive. The air felt heavier with every step. And then it began, a faint tapping sound from upstairs, followed by a low guttural noise that we couldn't explain. Near the end of the hallway, our camera caught something we didn't see until later. Watch closely. As we delved deeper into the house's history, we discovered a chilling connection. Every owner, every resident who spent significant time here, reported the same dream. Standing in the main hall, unable to move, as a figure approached them from the shadows. And the figure? It always stopped in the same spot, directly beneath the chandelier, where Lillian Belmore had died over a century ago. Some believe it's Lillian, trapped between worlds. Others think it's something far older, something tied to the land itself. Before we left, we set up a motion-activated camera in the main hall. When we reviewed the footage, we found something we couldn't explain. Whatever haunts this house, one thing is clear: it doesn't want to be disturbed. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the unknown. If you want to see more stories like this, subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. And if you've experienced something you can't explain, share it in the comments below. We'd love to hear your story.